Hello all my fellow rock tumblers out there. Are you ready to start another rock tumbling video? Well, I always am. So we're gonna begin one. What is with this big pile of rocks, you ask? Let me tell you the story. So my now wife, Kendra, and I have been collecting a lot of rocks, and these are her rocks that we have used either in our Rockoff series or any number of different video series I make. So these are the ones that she found out in West Texas at the Coconut 06 Ranch. And many of them have been cut. Some of them have not. She just decided she wanted them tumbled. So as you can see, many of these were part of the Rockoff series, and she probably kicked my butt on a lot of these. Yeah, look at that one. What we're gonna have here are a whole bunch of different types of agates and jaspers, and then some duds, of course. These are gonna be tumbled her way. My wife Kendra does not like her rocks perfectly smooth like I like mine. So I would take a rock like this, for example, and I would let it roll in the coarse grit for 3 months, if that's as long as it took to get it smooth. She, on the other hand, likes her rocks to look more natural, well, I guess as natural as a cut rock can look, when they get shined up. So for this big batch of rocks you see here, I'm just gonna run them for probably about 10 days in the coarse grit, which means the surface will get a little bit smoother, but not perfectly smooth. Thankfully, we are going to have the cut surfaces, which, when they're shined, should be really beautiful. The rest of these, here's one, for example, that was never cut. It's just one that she picked up out there in West Texas and decided she wants me to do a tumble on it. With only 10 days of coarse grit grinding, this will not get very smooth. It'll have a lot of this white stuff still on it. However, once it's finished with the vibratory tumbling that I do, it'll have a nice shine. That's what you can expect. So what I'm gonna do is get all of these in a big 12-pound barrel. I'll put in a bunch of coarse grit, and I'll get it going for about 10 days. Once these are tumbled for about 10 days, I'm gonna bring them all back in here, and I'll show you what they look like before we move them on to the polishing stages in the vibratory tumbler. Welcome back, rock fans. I decided to let Kendra's rocks go for 2 complete weeks in the 60-90 grit, just to give them a chance of getting a little bit smoother so that we can get a good shine on them. So they'll still be the Kendra way tumble, but maybe with just a little hint of the Scott way thrown in, just to get a nice smooth surface to take that brilliant shine that we're hopefully going to get. There are a couple of them in here that are going to be really stunning when they get shined up. Oh yes, I think a rock like this, once it goes through the vibratory tumbler, should be amazing. I picked up a couple, put them to the side so I could show you. This one, for example, obviously waterline banding, and look at that, a little tiny dendritic feature right there. So that'll be one to keep an eye out for. This one here almost looks like carnelian. Look at the color of this one. Wow, isn't that cool? Drives me crazy that it's not perfectly smooth, but hey, these are Kendra's rocks. Look at that little tiny little rock that got stuck in there. Do you think that's going to survive the vibratory tumbling? We're going to find out. Look at this beauty right here. Imagine this one shined up. This should be awesome. You've got moss, you've got regular fortification banding, and you've got quartz crystal. Maybe the best one of all, though, is this one here. Look at this beauty. This was clearly just a West Texas biscuit, but once we got the skin off, look at all that waterline banding in there. Again, it drives me crazy that I can't tumble this one much more smoothly than it is, but I imagine once it gets shined up, it's going to be pretty special, no matter how imperfect this surface is. So what I'm going to do next is get all of these into the vibratory tumbler, probably the 18-pound bowl that I have, and I'll get it going for at least 10 days. I'll go through 4 different grits. Check this one out. This is also a nice one here. Anyway, I'll go through those 4 different grits, and once I'm finished with that final 14,000 grit aluminum oxide polish, I'll bring these back in here, and I'll show you what they look like. After only a couple of weeks of tumbling and polishing, Kendra's rocks, done her way, are finally finished with the polishing. We got some really pretty rocks here. This video is probably going to be a little bit longer than my usual ones. I hope you like looking at pretty rocks because that's what we're going to do. Let's take a look at some of the nicer ones. We must start off with this beauty. Check out the shine on this waterline agate. Isn't it pretty? Wow. Oh, we knew it was going to be pretty. Even though it's not tumbled perfectly smooth, as you can see, it still took a great shine, especially on the surfaces that did get a nice smooth finish. And check out that beautiful waterline banding right there. It's kind of interesting looking. When you look at it up close, it has sort of a wavy pattern to it. That's interesting. I like it, whatever it is. I'd say we are off to a good start. Just check out the color in this beautiful agate here. Oh, I think I see at least 3 colors in there. Isn't that pretty? Heck, I don't even mind that it has this rough area on the edges because we have those 2 cut surfaces to enjoy. Beautiful West Texas light blue agate with some red, a little brown, a little light blue and dark blue. Very pretty rock. This coarse looking rock is actually a very pretty moss agate. Look at that. Kendra did pick up a few pieces of this along the way. I just love when they have the little tiny bubbles in there, those little silvery gray bubbles along with that golden brown mossiness. This is very common out there in West Texas. Here's a cool one that she cut here and here. Now you look at that surface and you think, oh, that's just so-so, but what is it? Well, I believe this is a sagenitic agate. If you look closely, you can make that out inside. Very cool stuff. I love finding the sagenite out there, those little sprays, as I call them, little sticks. Yeah, you can tell right in there. So this is actually a very nice, unique agate. This rough one doesn't look too interesting on this side, but it's this side that I really like. That's not a bunch of leftover polishing compound in there. That is clean. It's just a very interesting white crystal within that vug. You see the chalcedony, you see the quartz, and then you got that very whitish quartzy material, which I find interesting. Just so you know, what I had to do with these rocks is between each of my stages, I had to run batches through the ultrasonic cleaner. Because one disadvantage with tumbling rocks Kendra's way is that you have a lot more area to collect slurry. And these can be a challenge to clean between the stages. So this little exercise in tumbling her way actually takes a lot more time than when I tumble my way, which is to say, tumbling rocks as smoothly as possible. But regardless, the results are nice, and I'd do anything for Kendra. So this agate looks rather rough on the outside, not too interesting, but check out the cut surface. Remember, these were mostly used in our great Kendra Scott Rockoff series. That's where she would pick one of the rocks that she found out there in West Texas, and I would pick one that I found, and we would cut them open and compare them. This is one of hers. Look at the beautiful red and blue coloring in there. Oh, I'm quite sure I lost this round. Here's a nice chunk of agate that looks carnelian to me. And then check out some of the detail within that. The little tubes that run through there. I think that's fascinating. So although it's not a very smooth tumble, it sure is pretty. That color, very rich color of chalcedony. I hope you agree. I just think this one's really interesting. Its shape. It took a good shine, but it has a really fun shape with a nice bit of that sort of darker carnelian looking chalcedony right there versus what we have on this side, which is the typical light gray. I think that's a nice combo. What do you think? Since many of these were from our Rockoff series, I'm able to find the matching halves, and these two came together. So imagine we're doing the great Kendra Scott Rockoff. I cut mine, then I cut hers, and I open up hers to find that. Ooh. I suspect I lost this one as well. Beautiful, beautiful waterline banding in this one. hard to hold these. They're very slick once they get shiny like this. But isn't that pretty stuff? Yeah. Can't beat the waterline. Here's one I pointed out before the polishing stages that I thought would turn out really nice, and I think it did. Sure, there's a lot of quartz in it, as you can see, but as you can also see, there's plenty of banding and mossiness. What's not to love about this little rock here? It has something for everybody. The quartz lovers, the banding lovers, and the moss lovers. This is like the perfect rock. And speaking of moss, here's a red moss that she picked up. I like this face right here. Isn't that pretty? I could stare at moss agates forever. They're just beautiful. Just so unique. And the detail, the color, wow. What a good looking rock. So here's a fun little nodule that we cut in half in one of our Rockoff contests that looks to me to be sagenitic. I believe that's what I'm seeing in there. Some sprays, maybe. Yeah, right there towards the end, you can really see it right in there. Sure, as you can see, this was one of those oddly shaped West Texas biscuits. Looks like a double that we cut in half during our Rockoff competition. She probably won this round, but I don't remember. We have filmed so many of those. I don't remember who won what. Well, in some cases I do, but in this one, I'm not sure. Now, I am 100% sure that she won with this rock in one of our Rockoffs. You're looking at it now thinking, well, it looks rather plain, took a nice shine, but what's the big deal, Scott? Well, let me show you the cut side, which is right here. Now, I remember this one like it was yesterday, although it was probably a couple of months ago that we filmed it. And honestly, I don't know if by the time I put this video out, that the Rockoff video that this comes from will have been released. Probably, but I'm not sure. So when I looked at her rock, when I opened it up and looked at it, I saw this and I thought, doesn't that look like a profile of a pregnant woman with a little baby in her womb? So both halves, of course, imagine I had the other half. I'm not sure where it is right now. I don't see it, but the other half, back to back, a woman with a belly and a baby in her. And I said, how could my rock possibly beat that? And it didn't. So this was clearly a winner of the Rockoff. Well deserved. I can confirm that this Rockoff entry of Kendra's did lose to mine. And you're asking yourself, how could this possibly lose? What a beautiful agate. And it is. It's a beautiful agate. Got wonderful colors in there. You see red, blue, and almost a yellowish brown. However, she went against one of mine that was a stunner. That just happens every now and then. You get a good rock, and you still get beat. It's all fair in love, war, and Rockoff. I just made that up, but it sounds good. What a pretty agate nonetheless. Here's that dark red one that I said looks like a carnelian right before we did the polishing. Very pretty color on this. Just awesome, awesome. Heck, I even like that little crystal pocket there. And I don't even mind that it's a very rough tumble. This color just glows. I don't know if I'd call it carnelian. It's more like it's almost too red to be a carnelian. Who knows? Several of her nodules look like this, where because we didn't continue to grind them down in the coarse grit, the outside surface looked like this, which, as you can see, does not take much of a shine. There's just too much of the soft stuff. However, this is what it looked like when it got cut open in the game, in the Rockoff. It's a pretty agate. It may have won, I don't remember. Certainly is deserving if it did. And had we left this in the coarse grit for, gosh, let's say 2 months, we would have a rock with mostly that surface on it and a lot more of that blue showing through. No matter though, this is how she likes them, and it is a good looking rock in spite of all the sort of that nastiness there. Here's one I pointed out at the start of the polishing. Took a nice shine. You can see some light banding in there. A little more right there. I think that's really pretty. But what I like more than the banding is I can see that there's something within there. It looks like maybe a quartz center. You can just make it out through there. That's pretty. So were we to cut this one in half, we would reveal like a quartz pocket. That's what that is right there, I'm pretty sure. Now here's another one of her Rockoff entries that I remember winning. I do remember this one because I distinctly remember that red right at the top there, looking like something like a figure, a person laying there. And then it had the beautiful color, as you can see. I don't remember what I put up against hers, but it wasn't as good as this one. That I do remember. This was a winner for sure. Well, check this out. It looks like I found the other half of my pregnant woman rock. Remember I showed you a few rocks back, the one that I remembered winning the Rockoff because it had the baby in the womb. Well, this was the other half. Let me see if I can find the first half. We'll look at these back to back. So check it out. This is the winning rock from one of our Rockoff rounds. Kendra kicked my butt with this. This is the one that I said looked like back-to-back pregnant women with the little baby in the womb. And how could you possibly beat a rock like that? And obviously, I didn't. Kendra was enjoying cutting her rocks just randomly. Here's one that she cut in 2 different planes just to expose what was on the inside. Here you can see that dark but beautiful banding. And she got to get it on this face as well. Lots of these rocks are out there at the Coconut 06 Ranch. I would say they're a dime a dozen, but honestly, they're $2 a pound. Well worth it in my opinion. This one's kind of fun. It has just that typical light gray, cloudy chalcedony on both the top and bottom, but then it has this beautiful dark brownish chalcedony within. As you can see, there's a little bit of banding as well. I really like that contrast. That light grayish blue to the brown. Here's another little stunner of Kendra's. Look at the red inside this one. It was definitely cut. It was no doubt one of our Rockoff contestants. I don't remember if this one won, but certainly could have. That's a beautiful little pattern on the inside there. And how can you not love that red color on the outside? Here's another super cool nodule. This is the outside of it, right? That looks pretty standard. Nothing too exciting to see here, but turn it over. This turned out really nice. Look at that. This might be one of my favorites. It's simple, but it's pretty, right? You got that, well, is it quartz? I don't know, with that light colored stuff. Some very fine banding, and then the slightly darker chalcedony. Oh, overall, I think this is a winner. Here's another cool looking one with what appears to be maybe, oh, I don't know, is that dendritic? It's interesting, but on this side, you can see we've got the quartz and the banding. Lots of quartz there, and, well, quite a bit of banding. Look at that. I'm not a big fan of the quartz. And actually, the quartz in this group did not take a great shine, but I believe that's just because I didn't get enough time with the coarser tumbling to really get it smooth. Otherwise, I think it would have been okay. This one may be small, but it really packs a punch. Check out all the little blobs in this thing, the little orbs. I think this is super cool. I wish it were bigger. Hey, what are you gonna do? In spite of its small stature, it offers a lot for us to enjoy. Now this one just appears to be plain quartz, but check out how clear it is. What you can see on the inside. This is one that I wish I could have tumbled a little bit longer. Get it perfectly smooth because look at that in there. That almost has an iridescent quality to it. That's super cool. Oh yeah, look at that. Wow, this is almost jewel-like. Heck, I may have a new favorite now that I look at this one. And I'm not a big fan of just quartz, but look at what it can do on the inside. Oh, I like this a lot. And here's another mossy piece that she picked up. Oh, I could just stare at this forever. Look at all of the detail. And this one has some nice color in it. Check that out. Wow. Who doesn't love moss agate? Crazy people, that's who. I apologize if I offended you if you don't like moss agate. I don't really mean you're crazy. Although you'd have to be crazy not to love that. I'm showing you this little one here because it appears to be somewhat green, just a little bit. I think I remember cutting this one as well. It also shows you what these surfaces do when they're not, the silicas that take the great shine. The silicates or the silicas, the silicon dioxides, the cryptocrystalline, the good stuff like this here. I don't know what this soft stuff is, but as you can see, it definitely does not shine. Versus, well, that didn't take much of a shine, but it's because of its odd shape. Here's a better example of a small one that's interesting and took a pretty cool shine. Still has some bumps on it, some botryoidal bumps. But there are some good colors in there as well, and some of that stuff that just did not take a polish. I had to show you this moss agate. I believe this is one of the Crayola agates. We went to an area that Aaron told us was known for these Crayola agates. I picked up a bunch, and I've got a video right now being made showing tumbling of just these Crayola agates. You should see that at some point, and mine will be much smoother than this one. But they have a beautiful mossy pattern in them, and lots of different colors. Hopefully mine will turn out really nice as well. We'll see. I think I showed you the other half of this one early on in this video. It's beautiful. Look at the color bleed between that red and blue. Wow. And those tiny bubbles inside the banding. Wow, what a fun rock. Oh, I suspect she kicked my butt with this one as well. I can't imagine beating that in the Rockoff. I'm starting to feel a little traumatized making this video of Kendra's rocks. It's reminding me of how many times she beat me at the Rockoff. This little nodule is kind of pretty. It has a pinkish color to it if you look. I'm not sure if you can tell in this light, but it definitely, yeah, you can tell it's got a little pinkish glow right there. It's very small, but I just wonder, what would this have looked like had we decided to cut it in two on the small saw? I bet it would be interesting on the inside. And here's the other half of one I showed earlier too, that I made the point that on the outside, you really can't tell much because we don't grind them long enough, but the cut surface really shines. Here's that beautiful dual blue colored Texas agate with the quartz in the middle. Probably beat me at the Rockoff with this one. Just two more to go. So this one was clearly one rock at one time that we entered into the Rockoff. First of all, look at that cool cross design right there. Doesn't that look awesome? Oh, this little biscuit had a lot going for it. Wow, check that out. Isn't that pretty? Oh, I love that. Very nice. No doubt this one beat me, whatever rock I entered on that particular round of the Rockoff. All right, it's time for the final rock. This is the last rock I'm going to show you in this series. I hope you've enjoyed it. This one doesn't look like much on this side, right? It's coarse, it's just very, very pitted. But what we want to see is the cut side. Check that out. That's a beautiful shade of light blue, as you would expect. Got the little druzy pocket there. So one of my favorites for sure. And I hope yours as well. Thank you all so much for watching this little rock tumbling video. I know it was a little bit longer than usual, but I think it was worth it, especially if you like pretty rocks. As you can see, Kendra picked up some amazing rocks while we were out there rock hunting at the Coconut 06 Ranch near Alpine, Texas. If you're interested in that, you need to check it out. Aaron Thomas leads hunts out there. Terry Smith, she also leads rock hounding trips out there in West Texas. I recommend both of them. I've been out with both of them and have had a blast. It's just amazing how many cool rocks we can find out there just laying on the ground out in West Texas. It's sort of sad that I live in Austin, which is about a 6.5 hour drive away. Look at that little black stuff in there. That's cool. So once again, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please remember to check my other videos for more like this. Thanks again.